This video is not a rant. Or is it? I'm sharing with you 14 things that are genuinely pretty annoying about Virgin Voyages so that you can know what to expect, and also helpful tips, tons of helpful tips around how I navigated these and did things pretty differently on my second sailing versus my first, and how I'll do things differently on my third, fourth, and fifth coming up. And if you're new here, yo, I'm Christine Lozada with Where in the World is CL, and I make travel videos every week to help you get up, get out, and go travel. So if you like to travel, consider subscribing. I have so many helpful videos about this cruise line. Check the description below for the full playlist. Let's jump into the first two, actually, which have to do with the food. Number one is that you can only dine at each restaurant for dinner once, in theory. So when you're signing up on the app for your dinner, you can only book each restaurant one time. And I mean, it's awesome that the specialty restaurants are included, but if you really like one of them and you don't really like a couple of the others and you want to keep dining at it, you can't book that. You can only book it once. You can go standby. I definitely went standby plenty of times to eat the same place 2 and 3 times, but you can only book each place once. And one thing I wish I knew that I didn't know about until I was on the ship is that some of the restaurants, the Wake and Razzle Dazzle, they serve brunch. And a lot of people don't know that and just go straight upstairs to the galley and eat a regular breakfast when they're completely missing out on something very, very awesome at both of these spots. So that's a secret tip. Numero dos is the timing of the food. And what I mean by that is things are not necessarily open or closed when you want them to be. Let me give you a couple examples. If you like to go to the nightclub, and if you're like me and you like to eat pizza after the nightclub, that's a fantastic thing, except the nightclub doesn't necessarily close at 1 a.m. and the pizza spot does. So you might be running to the pizza spot at 12:55 p.m. to grab your little buzzer, put in your order, and run back to the nightclub so you can wait the 20 minutes on the dance floor, that is, and then go back and get your pizza and then eat it and then go back to the nightclub. Anyway, the late night food options are just okay. So you have the upstairs diner in the galley, which has some decent options. And then you have the ramen spot, which does not necessarily serve all the different ramen items and is not 24 hours. But I just always felt like I wanted to eat something late night because Virgin Voyages is such a fantastic ship to enjoy the nightclub at, and I didn't necessarily have those options. Ooh, also on weird timing, that poke spot. Oh my gosh, I completely missed it on my first sailing because it's not open every day and it's open in a very small window of time. So if you are on Scarlet Lady, make sure you look at the hours because the poke is amazing and it's hidden on the top and the back of the boat, but you gotta try it out. But anyway, there are certain restaurants with certain hours and they might not fit to your schedule. On the topic of food, numbers 3, 4, and 5 have to do with drinking. Number 3, it kind of bothers me. It really bothers my boyfriend Meatball that there's no open bar on this cruise. And so there are times in which like, oh yeah, like let's get another drink. But then we're like, oh, I don't know. Like it's weird to be on a cruise thinking about the additional things you're paying for when it's traditionally something where it's like paid and you're all set. And so it's more of a mindset thing, because the drinks really don't pay that much unless, which here's number 4, the drinks that you might want may or may not be available. So let me give you an example. I was drinking the $21 glasses of Moet, which are fantastic, love it, totally worth it, but it really adds up. And so I really wanted to be drinking Shandong, a winery in California that I used to be a wine club member at. Love that place, amazing bubble room. You should totally go to that winery, by the way. I digress. But glasses of Shandong are $11 on the cruise, and so $21, $11, it's kind of a big price swing. And there isn't anything else that's comparable to these two things in a different price range. So because they were out, I was a little annoyed about that. Nah, I was super annoyed. Ooh, helpful tip. Don't forget, you can bring 2 bottles of wine per stateroom. And so since they are a cruise that is partnered with Moet, I brought Veuve on board and that was fantastic. You get 2 bottles per room. Number 5 is something that you would think would be an advantage for you, but might work against you depending, I don't know, I guess it depends on how much you drink. But we had friends that went on the cruise who prepaid their bar tab and they couldn't spend it all. I mean, I was happy that they were buying me lots of drinks. That's fantastic. But one thing to consider is because a lot of people have a misperception around how much drinks cost on the cruise, except that example on the glasses and Moet. It's not something that's as expensive as you think. And so they prepaid a huge bar tab and they were nowhere near that. So, you know, let's pop more bottles. By the way, if you're getting some value out of this video, choose that like button, consider subscribing, and tell me in the comments below if you're considering sailing with Virgin Voyages. I'd genuinely like to know, and also tell me when, in case we're on the same cruise. And don't forget, tons of helpful info in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Numbers 6 and 7 have to do with, well, detoxing before you retox. I love that mentality on this cruise, by the way, but it has to do with working out. Number 6 is about missing out on the workout classes. And this kind of happens in a few ways. So actually, hold on. First of all, if you sign up for a workout class and you don't show up, you have to pay. Actually, it's not even paying. You're donating money toward a charity of their choice, which I actually think is kind of fair because you're holding someone else back from being able to sign up. And signing up, let's talk about that for a second. You have to do it on the app. Everything on this cruise, you have to do through the app. And it's really important, especially for the popular classes, you're signing up for them on hour 1 of your cruise. Otherwise, they fill up super fast and you completely miss out on them. And so a lot of times I would go standby and I would just wait at the class, 10, 15 minutes before it starts to see if I could get in. And sometimes I could do that, but you really gotta be on top of it so you can get into the classes. Otherwise, you'll miss out. And number 7 is something that was different on my second sailing versus my first sailing. I really loved on my first sailing that I could take tons of fitness classes in the afternoon because I would sleep in all morning after going to the nightclub all night, and then I would go work out in the afternoon. On my second sailing, just about all the workout classes were in the morning. So do you wanna know how much I worked out on my second cruise? I didn't. I worked on my liver, brought it to new levels. So there were inconsistencies with the workout classes, but in general, I mean, this is a newer cruise line. I think there are some things they're still figuring out. We'll get into that. Numero 8 is about the misperceptions of this cruise. I can't tell you how exhausted I am by some of the questions that people ask me repeatedly simply because they have the wrong idea about what Virgin Voyages is. So let's talk about it. Is this a swingers cruise? Is this a sex cruise? Is it a gay cruise? And there's all kinds of people on this boat, just like there's all kinds of people everywhere you travel. But because the internet is always right, just kidding. I'm gonna read you something that I found that is a statement from Virgin Voyages. I'll link it in the description below if you wanna dive into it, but I think this is kind of interesting. The average age of a Virgin Voyage cruiser is 47 years old. Over half of them are married, and only 25% of them say they are new cruisers. Translation, this is also not a millennial or super young cruise. You get people of all ages on this cruise, but I will say there is one thing in common amongst all of them, is that they are definitely more contemporary or modern or open to trying new things. These aren't the older cruisers who are stuck in their ways. I definitely saw a lot of older women looking 10 million times more hip than I do. I guess a lot of people look more hip than I do. My dad thinks this hat is weird. Let's move on. The music. I have some things to say about the music. I'm also very picky about music. I mean, I date a DJ. Number 9 is the lack of it. And so this is something that really bothered me, and I did something different on my second cruise, which is I packed a portable speaker in the room. You have your TV, you have your sexy lights, but you don't have music in your room. There's no playlist of music. There's tons of movies and shows and stuff like that. But I was like, whoa, Virgin Records with Virgin Voyages, shouldn't there be music in the room? And so that's something you might want to pack, which is a portable speaker. Ooh, which by the way, there's a whole helpful pack list specific for Virgin Voyages that I put together for you, linked in the description below if you want to grab that. Not everyone cares about having music in their room, but let's talk about music on the rest of the ship. Number 10 is about the inconsistency of the music, and specifically from the DJs. And so the first time I cruised with Virgin Voyages, I didn't expect to hear hip hop. I mean, I really love hip hop a lot. But I wasn't surprised that it was more like house music and stuff like that. But one thing I learned on my second sailing, because there was a lot of awesome hip hop going on, is that the DJs rotate every couple weeks or so. And you get completely different talent each time. And so there is kind of like a set of 20 songs, I would say, that you will consistently hear every single time like clockwork. But you get inconsistency in the DJs. And the other thing is a lot of their sets are pretty short. So here's 2 examples. On Sea Day, if you go up to the pool, I timed it to be there soon as he started his set because the set was only an hour and a half. Otherwise, it's just normal music playing. Or even at the beach club, the set is only a couple hours long, and it's definitely the best and most vibey part of the day at the Bimini Beach Club. But the DJs are inconsistent, and when they have their sets, they're never as long as I want them to be. I get it that not everyone cares for a good DJ set. I know you guys exist out there, and that's okay, but number 11 is around live music. So yes, you can get some very talented live musicians, especially the solo musicians, or even in the Manor, they have really great bands that they're bringing in and rotating. But when I'm around that beautiful water of the Bahamas, I really want to hear that live reggae band at the pool. Like, that's one of my favorite things about sailing with Royal Caribbean, is that you got the live reggae bands like on repeat. You can just kind of guarantee it's going to be there. And that just doesn't exist here. I guess that's what headphones are for. And YouTube videos. This next one might surprise you. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on if you've been traveling lately or not. So this one is around capacity. I know I am going to be so annoyed on my later cruises with Virgin Voyages because it's going to be way more busy. So the first time I sailed with them, there were 800 people on board. This cruise fits 2,770 passengers. I'm not talking about crew. There's a whole set of crew also, but it fits 2,770. There were only 800 people on my first sailing. It was amazing. There was a lot of space, there was a lot of room, and I was surprised because on my second sailing, I was like, wow, this feels so busy. Oh my gosh, like it's packed everywhere. Guess how many people were on the cruise? 960. That's only a little bit more, like a little bit more. And it already felt like, oh my goodness, like, oh, this is like really busy and packed. And if there are 2,770 people on this boat and it's actually at capacity, it's gonna feel really, really different. So maybe the tip here is go cruise with them before the hordes of people go. Ooh, or maybe avoid, holiday sailings. Number 13 is one that you'll care about more if you are sailing with them sooner versus later, which is the app still needs some improvement. Again, you're doing everything in there. You're booking your entertainment, your workout, your dinners, your everything. Everything happens in the app. And so, nothing will happen on your cruise if you're not using the app, by the way. And a lot of times the app was crashing or it wasn't working when we were using it. I saw a little bit of improvement on my second sailing, but I don't know, it's kind of annoying when you're just like, what time is dinner tonight? And it's like permanently loading. And number 14, you're not allowed to bring drones on this cruise. I love drones. I have a whole drone channel, by the way. You should check it out. Oh, so Christine, how'd you bring a drone? I was on the security list for it. Those are my 14 things. If something was helpful in here, choose that like button. Consider subscribing. Check the description for tons more helpful info. And I'll see you in the next adventure. Ciao.